Welcome to Gas Station Business 101 podcast. This is episode number 20, the big 20.
Welcome to the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast, where you can learn all the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at CSB Academy Publishing Company. And now, here is your host, Shabir Hossain.
Hello there. Once again, welcome to Gas Station Business 101 podcast. And again, this is episode number 20. Today's episode is coming from 2 email questions I received in last 3 months, which I did not answer. One of them came from a gentleman named Pradeep, and the other one is from Jay. And both of them asked me similar questions, even though the language was different. But the gist was, both of them asked me how they can get started or buy a gas station, a business, a convenience store, when they're still short on cash. Was there a financing program available? What are the alternative ways to get into this business when they have all the desires, the motivations, and everything else, but they're short on funding? And today, I've decided to address both of those emails in one episode. So our focus and our topic today is how to get started in gas station business, even if you're short on cash or funding. And to discuss that, there are 3 ways that I know of, and I'm sure there are other ways. Some of you most likely will send me an email saying there are other ways to do so. And if you have other ways, please email me and I will mention that in a future episode. But for now, we will be concentrating on 3 ways of getting funding and to get started in gas station business or convenience store business or any other business. It doesn't have to be a convenience store. It doesn't have to be a gas station. These 3 methods can apply to any business there is out there. Can be online, can be offline. But without further ado, let's talk about those 3 methods that you can apply and get started. Number 1 is crowdfunding. A lot of you may have heard that term, crowdfunding. There are some popular websites that do crowdfunding for different projects, from writing books to creating a product. There are many ways you can get crowdfunding, and there are many projects out there. But essentially, I'm going to explain for those of you that still are a little bit hazy on what crowdfunding is. I recommend all of you to go and take a look at a site called Kickstarter.com. It's Kickstarter.com. Kickstarter.com. What this site does is they get people to come there and post a project. It could be anywhere from arts to comics to crafts to dance, design, fashion, film and video, food, games, music, publishing, technology, and all different sorts of things. And what they do is they publish a project with a budget that, hey, I'm going to create an art or a book or a novel on this topic, and this is what I have, and this is how I'm qualified to do so. But only thing I'm short on is cash. So my project will cost X amount of dollars. And for the first 100 people that pays me $100 or more each will get a signed copy of my book or the art or whatever you're creating. And the people that pay me $50 or more will get a copy of my book without the signature, and so on and so forth. And then again, they may say anybody that donates $10 or more will get an electronic format of my book. And you see how that works out. I mean, the more you pay, the more you get. And the less you pay, the less you get. But still, your name appears on that book. A lot of times they mention the people that are funding the project. They mention their name on the thank you page or somewhere. So essentially the idea is that people want to pay for you to create something. And that's how that idea is what got this project started. And now there are many sites that essentially do the same thing, but for different projects and different genre and different categories. But for our project, which is Gas Station Buisness, I'm sure you cannot go to Kickstarter and say, pay me $1 million so I can open a gas station. No, that's not how it's going to work. But we need to get the idea from this and say we can still do crowdfunding, but it will be a little bit different, which is another word called consortium. Consortium is essentially an alliance, a coalition, a union, a league, a syndicate, a federation. And again, I'm reading from Google, but that is what it means. It means some of the like-minded people get together and create something big. A lot of times, if it takes $1 million to create a gas station or to buy a gas station, not once, let's say one single person doesn't have that money, but they have $100,000. And if you can find 10 of these people, then you have $1 million. Now, that is a consortium, meaning everybody with similar goal gets together to create something big for profit most of the time. So again, crowdfunding is, you may ask, why is it so different than partnership? Well, in a typical partnership deal, you may have 1, 2, 3, 4 partners, and every partner has a different role. Let's say one partner takes care of bookkeeping and accounting. One partner takes care of day-to-day operation. The other partner does marketing and all sorts of other outside jobs. But in this case, that's not the goal. These are the funders, means they only pay a chunk of that project for hoping to get future benefits from that consortium, means the profit that you generate out of that business. So again, crowdfunding or consortium, building a consortium of like-minded people that have some sort of funding available to them that they can contribute and create a project. So first thing, as I said, is crowdfunding or consortium is one way we can go about doing that. And I will discuss how to pitch and what you need to do this. But I just wanted you to understand what consortium is all about. Again, this is where you gather up people that have some savings, some cash, and whatnot, and they're looking to invest, but they don't have time to work at that business. So if you can gather up enough of these people, as I said again, they have to be like-minded with the same goal, where they will not be involved in the business. But again, if there is a big decision to be made, there will be a meeting where you guys can decide on that. But at least what they will be doing is investing the money based on one person or 2 or 3 that will be managing that project and providing them with monthly or quarterly or yearly P&L along with a check with that profit that you guys are sharing. Okay, number 2, second way you can get started if you're short on cash would be get investors. And again, you may ask, what is the difference between crowdfunding or consortium and investors? Well, there is not much of a difference. Only difference that I can see, and I have never done crowdfunding, even though I once almost got started and had some investors, but somehow the project fell through. Means the project that we were going to be doing, which was not a gas station, it was a real estate project, but somehow the deal fell through. So we decided that we'll try it at another time. But the difference, coming back to the point, the difference between consortium and investor is you don't get 20 or 10 to 20 or 30 members or people to build that alliance. Investor would be 1 or 2. Let's say you find a $1 million project, and let's say you only have $200,000 cash. there might be an investor that come through and say, listen, even though the bank is asking for 40% down payment, I will pay the difference on the down payment and I will put my credit on the line to get you this deal going. So that's where the investor comes in. Means they have quite a bit of liquid asset, which is cash, and they have a solid background with the bank. They have good credit and they can get you that loan very easily. Or they may say, listen, we don't need to get loan. I will just pay the whole thing. So I will charge you no interest, but you will pay me the mortgage payment of that business along with some profits. It can work very differently compared to crowdfunding in this regard. So the biggest difference between crowdfunding and getting investor is the number of people that are getting involved. Crowdfunding is exactly what it says. It's a crowd, means it's quite a few people or investors that are getting together with one goal in mind, but they do not have much say-so as far as day-to-day operation of the business, unless otherwise specified beforehand in the operating agreement. I will get to the part where we talk about operating agreement in a few minutes, but let's get through this list first. So number one is crowdfunding, where you get 10, 15, 20 people together and get a project started. Next, number two is you get investors, where it may be one or two. You don't want to get 10 investors, because if you do, then it's going to be more like a consortium and you have to treat it as such. So, but in regards to investors, the investor will have much more say-so in your business, because there are just one or two and they most likely are investing much more than what you're investing. So they may have a bigger share in your business. And in consortium, pretty much everybody gets the same share. So if it's 10 people, everybody gets 10%, and so on and so forth. But in investor situation, let's say the investor gets you the loan and the down payment, they may end up owning 75 to 80% of that business, and they just give you 20% as a working partnership. So you see, there are some basic differences between partners or partnerships and building a consortium. Now, number three would be look for a partnership. And again, they may all sound very close, which they are, but there are basic differences. In crowdfunding or building a consortium, they don't get involved in your business and they get all the same amount of shares. In investors, they most likely will get a bigger chunk of your business, but you will be the working partner. And in the situation where number three is partnership, this is where you get one or two more individual that has the same goal as you, where they want to get started. They don't have enough money, but they are passionate about gas station business or any other business that you share the same passion with. And three of you get together and say, listen, I have 100,000, you have 100,000, he has 100,000. Let's get started. We can put $300,000 down and buy that dream gas station with 30% down, and we will have 33% shares of that company. And I will be managing the store, you will be doing marketing, and the other person will be doing bookkeeping, accounting. So basically, in partnership, they take on a role of your business. They take on responsibilities of your business, and they share responsibilities with your business. So depending on what your situation is, you will figure out which one is right for you. Not everyone will choose one. It will be, as I said, it will vary and depend on what you're looking for, how much cash or funds you have available to you, how much time you want to invest in your business. In partnership deals, which I have done many times, to me, it's an ideal win-win situation, because let's say you need to go on a vacation, you need to go visit your parents or do something else. At least you know when you're gone, your business will not be unattended. One of your partner will be there to take care of the daily operation, and you can travel worry-free knowing that things are being taken care of while you're not there. In other way, let's say you buy the business and there is no partner. Now, if you go to a vacation or somewhere else for a few days, you will always be worried because you're not there. And what if something goes wrong? Who will be responsible to handle that? Even though you may have a store manager, but they cannot act as the owner. That's the problem. Managers are there to manage, but owners are there to fix problems that managers cannot fix. So there is a huge difference, and there are benefits to having a partnership. Now, on the downside, yes, you will be sharing your profit. Let's say you made $10,000 a month. If it was all your own, you'd be taking that money home. But in a partnership situation, let's say you made that same money and you have two other partners and you're all equal shareholders of that company, you'll be only taking 33% of that $10,000. So there are upside and there are downsides. Again, it all will depend on how much cash you have, how much time you have available to spend in that business, and what is your goal really. Now that you know the first three part of this episode, which is there are three ways to do it: crowdfunding, investors, and partnership. But before you go and ask a potential investor or people with money that you think are going to be joining your consortium, you have to get few things ready, because if not, you would be looking foolish. So you need to look professional instead and have all the ducks in row where you know exactly what you're talking about. Let's say you go to a investor who is very successful and very rich. You tell them, I want to open a gas station and I think I found one and I think it makes good money. So if you invest, if you pay me, or if you buy me this gas station, I will run it and I'll share my profit with you. Most likely they will deny you because you've used the term I think. That's not a good term when it comes to investing money. People want to make sure, especially the investors, they want to see confidence, they want to see numbers, and they want to see results. So whenever you're using the words like probably, I think, I believe, they're thinking, okay, he did not do his homework, right? He just wants me to pay this money so he can go play and learn on the job and on my expense. So that's not a very good idea. So if you're deciding to go in any of these three routes, there are few basic things that you have to get ready before even you go talk to anybody. I will mention 7 items that you need to get ready first before you go talk to anybody. As I said, no investor likes to deal with a sloppy and unprofessional business person. So keeping that in mind, these are the following items you need to get ready with. Number 1, of course, find a great and profitable business. If you're thinking you're going to have a investor or two, or you're going to go with crowdfunding where 10 of the people will get together and invest money, or partnership for that matter, first is first. You need to find a business that you know is making money. There is no guesswork. You find a business, and I'm sure with the right money, there are enough businesses out there that are still generating decent profit. So once you find that business, you need to know in your heart with proof that this business is making money. Number 2, gather up all their sales, purchase, and expense data, everything. Ask the seller to give you at least a year or 2 years worth of sales records, purchase history, and expense reports. They may carry it in all different sorts of ways. They may have an accountant who may furnish you all that. But this is where it just starts. Don't believe everything you see that they furnish you with. Accounting is a very vast and strange, I should say, topic, because you can manipulate numbers to make it look different than what it is really. I have seen that happen. So I want you to gather up this data so you can play with it. And if you have an accountant or somebody with an accounting background, they can look at it and say, listen, this is what it is. Because there are some accounting costs that there are there to for tax purposes, which really, for one example, before I go too far, depreciation. You don't see you losing money or gaining money, but it's an accounting expense, depreciation. So what my point is, once you get this information, you can plug it into your own system and see the actual profitability of a store. But if you look at their income tax or P&L or balance sheet, it may confuse you because there are some cost and expense and profit that you don't get to see. You don't get to hold that real money. It's not there. But these are legit expense and cost and profits. So they're not being fraudulent. But it does not give you the real picture when you're trying to decide if you should buy this business or not. I have seen business where it shows it didn't make any money. But in reality, it was making quite a bit of money. But because of the depreciation cost, and they have taken some accelerated depreciation, instead of 7 years on something, they have taken 3 years depreciation. So they were taking off eating up quite a bit of those other money that should have been shown as, let's say, either profit or loss, depending on what business it is. So again, without getting into too much detail about accounting, my point is, once you gather up the raw data, for example, all the sales data and however purchase receipts you can get, all the invoices, the history of what they bought in last 1 year, then you have to gather up what the expenses were for the whole year. And then you go month to month and figure out how much they bought versus how much they sold. So cost of goods sold versus the real sales. And the difference is your gross profit. Remember, we talked about it in a previous episode. If you take your sales and subtract COGS, which is cost of goods sold, you get your gross profit. Then you gather up all your expenses. Once you deduct your expenses from your gross profit, you get your net profit. You can do this. This is simple math, but you still have to put the pencil to the paper. And if you do that for, let's say, 12 months, you can get a very clear picture of what this business is doing. And let's say the business is making money. Now you can write down how much money it made every month. And this way, when you go pitch an investor, you can precisely tell them, hey, listen, I'm looking at this business and I have a whole year worth of data, and it's real data. It's not manipulated. And I've looked at their receipts. I've looked at their sales. And last July, it made $17,000. Last August, it made $12,000 or whatever and whatnot, and so on and so forth. You can be very precise, and investors like that. They see you're confident, you know your numbers, you're telling them down to the pennies how much the business has made. Number 3, very important, write up your own business plan for that specific business, not a generic business plan. And again, if you go to my site and go under resources, you will see a business plan that will give you an idea what a business plan is all about. But if you have never written one, you may need to get somebody to help you with that, because it has to be realistic. And again, when you're writing a business plan in general, it's different than writing a business plan for a specific location. Once you know their data, you have to plug those into that business plan. So let's say you did not say a word. You just presented your business plan to an investor. That business plan should be able to outline every little detail about that business and how much money you're looking to generate out of that business and how much profit you will be sharing for the whole year, for example. No, your business plan will not say, I will send you a check every month for $5,000, but it will give the investors an idea, because you will have some clear P&Ls for monthly or quarterly or yearly, where they will know if they invest 75% money or they own 75% share of that business, they will be making X amount of dollars. But in this business plan, you need to be very precise and use real numbers. That is the most important thing. And also, this business plan has to be the pitch let's say you got cold and you can't speak, make sure that business plan speaks just the way you would have been speaking to those investors and convincing them why they should invest in this business. So it should be a very convincing argument in that business plan where they can read and say, listen, I don't have any question because all the questions been answered in this business plan. So think of yourself as an investor. And if somebody comes to you and asks you to invest, what type of questions will you be asking them? Make sure those are the questions being answered in your business plan. Just remember, main goal for most investors is, am I going to get my money back? How secure is this investment? Will I be getting some profit out of this? What is my ROI? Return on investment. Very important thing. ROI is the thing you need to worry about. If they're investing money, they need to get return on their investment, which has to be bigger than if they put the money in the bank and got 2% interest, compared to if they're investing with you, they may be making 10, 12, 13, 15, 20% ROI. So you need to address all of these in the business plan. Number 4, create P&L, again, based on this exact business that you're looking at. This way, you are, again, using real numbers. So basically, you're creating a P&L for the current period. Let's say you've gathered a whole year worth of data. You can create 4 P&Ls for every 3 months. You can create 12 P&Ls for every month. It is very important when you're pitching to an investor, provide them with a business plan. And that business plan will have some of these P&L numbers plugged in already, where it shows that it made this much money last year. And then part of your projection, part of your business plan will be a projection where you're projecting to make this much money. And now this number 4 and number 5 items will be validating what you have said in your business plan. Because in your business plan, every business plan has 2 parts. One is what the business has done so far and how you're looking to improve it and what the future profits will be looking like. So I usually, when I do a business plan, I usually say, if this business is making money right now without doing any changes, let's say I'm going to run it without doing any more improvements, and this is where we will be, meaning we'll still be making money. So any improvements that I do to the business will only improve those numbers, meaning I have a baseline. I cannot go below that. Let's say I'm showing the business is making $7,000 profit a month average. So if I don't do any improvements, run this business just the way it is running right now, even though there are some flaws that I see that I can improve, I will still be making at least $7,000 a month. So whatever improvement that I'm suggesting in that business plan, because in one part of the business plan, you will have to mention what items that you can do to improve that business even more. And you need to say that whatever improvement I do will be addition to this $7,000 profit. Meaning, even if your improvement makes you an extra dollar, you will be making $7,001 because your improvement made you that extra dollar, which is not going to be just a dollar, but for argument's sake, you have a baseline. Now that you have that, as I said, create some P&L based on the past records. So you can provide your investors with the business plan and then actual P&L of the business and say, listen, look at this last 12 months. This is how much the business has made. And then number 5, you create some projected P&L based on the suggestion you made in your business plan. Let's say the store is open from 5 to 10 at night. And one of the suggestions in your business plan was you will keep it open 24 hours because it is a location where a lot of traffic flows during the night, and you've gotten the traffic count, and it shows that it is a good idea to keep that store open 24 hours. So you can say, by keeping it 24 hours, I'll be generating another $400 to $500 a day revenue just from grocery and other merchandise sales. And then I'll be selling additional 300 to 400 gallons of fuel. And this much money I'll be making from those 2 category sales, where my labor would go up by a certain percentage and my utility bill will go up by a certain percentage. But at the end of the day, I will still be generating more profit by keeping it open 24 hours. Another example would be the gas station does not sell any hot prepared food right now, and you're thinking about starting a mini deli or barbecue sandwiches and whatnot. And you can say, listen, by doing so, I will be bringing in another $200 to $300 a day from food sales, where I would only be spending about $70 worth of labor. Since food is 50% profit margin, I'll be making $150 a day on a $300 sales, where I'll be spending $60 labor extra. So if you take 60 out of 150, you're still ahead by $90. So you can say, every day I'll be generating extra $90 profit even after paying my labor, extra labor. So you can say projected P&L for next 3 months. Another P&L you can say is next 12 months. So your investors can see if you, the reason, let me backtrack. I said you need to create a P&L for next 3 months and then another one for 12 months. The reason is you need to show your investors the long-term potential of that store. Always remember, if you start selling deli food tomorrow, you will not be selling, you'll not be reaching your highest level of that sale the very next day. It takes time to grow anything new that you start. Let's say you keep your store 24 hours open. You just started that tonight. Do you think you will be selling $400 worth of merchandise and 500 gallons of gas tomorrow? I don't think so, because people don't know you're open 24 hours yet. It takes 3 to 4 months for local people to know that this store is open 24 hours now. You may be able to put some signs on the window and the doors and the pumps, but still, it takes time for people to get used to that idea of knowing that, hey, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I need a bottle of Coke, I can go to this corner store and buy it. Even though they were closed for the last 7 years, now the new owner is keeping it open for 24 hours. So it takes time. It's a gradual process that your sale will keep increasing, but not overnight. Similarly, anything new you add, food or whatever you add, you will not reach the highest potential of that sales the very next day or very next month. It may take you 7, 8, 9 months to get to that point where you're comfortable. So it is an essential thing for you to create a P&L for 3 months down the road and one for the next 12 months. So it shows a consistent growth on your P&L, which makes your investors happy. But make sure to keep it realistic. Just to get an investor to say yes, don't fudge those numbers. Don't make something unrealistic. Don't hope for something unrealistic. Let's say you cannot say that I will add food, limited food or sandwiches and whatnot, and I'll be selling $2,000 worth of food in next 2 months, which is not feasible. This is not normal. So unless you don't have any restaurants, any grocery store, nothing in next 10 miles, if you add food, yes, you will be doing that much. But ideally, sensibly, that's not possible. So keep things in perspective, keep things realistic, where remember, the people you will be going to pitch, they're smart, and that's why they're successful. So don't pitch something that they may think, this guy's a fool, or he doesn't know what he's talking about, or these numbers don't look real. Keep things realistic. This way you will start your journey on an honest way of doing business. And this way the trust will always be there, because always remember, if you don't have the trust between the partners and investors, you're heading down to a disaster, because pretty soon your investors will want to pull out, or your partnership will start breaking down, or your consortium will start falling apart, because everybody will want different things. Some people will ask for verification of anything you said because they don't trust you. So it is important to keep things up and up and build that trust. Number 6, create an awesome sales pitch outlining how you plan to do this project and how you plan to share profit and how you plan to pay back on their return on investment. So again, First thing is when you're getting this package ready, you're creating your business plan, of course. Next, you're creating some P&Ls, some previous ones from the records and some projected ones for the future. Then you can create a pitch that will sit on top of this. And once they read that, if they have any question, they will go read the business plan and look at the P&Ls. Every one of them will validate what you write in this pitch. Again, you don't have to write a pitch. You can do it verbally, but it's good to have it on a piece of paper so you know exactly what you will be talking to them about. Remember, a pitch has to be good, but it has to be honest and it has to be real. And an awesome pitch would be that if you go into an investor who has, let's say, $1 million in their bank account, they're getting 1.5% to 2% return on their investment, or they have it in the stock market. And if they're safe investor, they have it with the blue chip stocks and they're making, let's say, 7% or 6%. If you can convince them that this is a viable project which will bring them 10% or 11% compared to what they have, they may listen to you. Plus, we often forget that if we invest in a real estate, that real estate grows value over time. So essentially, let's say you bought a station for $1 million today, and it took you 9 years to pay off that loan. At the end of 9th year, once you paid that real estate off, what you have is a $1 million property that you bought 9 years ago, and that value of that $1 million property most likely has gone to at least $1.3 or $1.4 million, depending on the demographics and the geographic area you're located at. But it has not gone down, hopefully. Real estate value seldom goes down unless otherwise we have gone through a disaster like we have back in 2008, 2009, which is very uncommon for real estate market. So the pitch can say, if you invest today, you will be getting at least 10% ROI on your investment. But at the end of 9th year or 10th year, after we pay off that loan, this is what we will have. Where, let's say you don't want to run that business anymore and you want to lease that business out for, let's say, typical rent on a business is about 1% of the investment. So let's say the value at that time is $1.3 million. You can ask for $13,000 a month rent. And you can say to your investor, listen, after the 9th year, once the property gets paid off, we can lease it and still get $13,000 a month. And if we don't like to lease it anymore, one day we can sell it and get the whole money back. This is the sweetest thing an investor can hear, that they can get profit every month. And after the loan is paid off, they can sell and get more than what they have invested. It doesn't get any better than this. But you have to convince them of this thing, that this is real. And for that, you have to find a good business that is generating good profit and has good potential. If you find a business that is $1 million business and doing very well, but in 7 years or in 9 years, there are 3 more competitors that came very close to you and opened up bigger and better stores, and your sale has gone down, then you are in trouble. So it is a key thing to find a location where you know it's already built. The area has already been built, meaning there are not very many empty spots on corner lots where bigger gas station can come and compete with you. And again, if you look hard, you will see there are many stations out there for sale where there is no other possibility of other gas stations coming near you. And my advice is, if you're looking for a gas station to buy, this is where you need to look. Don't look at a remote area where there is only one station and you are thinking, hey, I'll be the only game in town for the next 10 years. Probably not. So it is a good idea, again, to do your research first. Find that station that you know will survive and make profit for the next at least 10 years or 12 years. And then your investors will see that and say, listen, I think it's a good idea and I will invest with you. And the last thing, of course, number 7, is once you get this package ready, where it is your pitch, your business plan, your P&Ls, go find some suitable people and pitch. And finding suitable people meaning finding like-minded people. Now, you cannot get where, let's say, you gathered 7 different individuals, but 5 of them have a different goal than the other 2. Other 2 wants to get in for 3 years, make the money, and then sell high, get out. And the other 5 people say, no, we're here for the long haul, meaning we're here to generate that small profit or whatever profit we get every month. And our goal is to pay off that property in 7, 8, or 9 years. And then we may lease it or we may sell it and get the money at that time. So it is important for you to get like-minded people and lay out what the future plan will be and talk to them in advance what those plans will be. Now, having said that, I'm going to get into something in a little bit more detail which covers this. Let's say you found your investors and your partners or the people that are going to join your consortium. The second phase of your work will begin. Now, make sure to do the following steps once you find those people that are willing to invest with you. One is draw up a partnership or consortium documents by an attorney. These are like your corporate article type thing. And make sure to outline everything about that legal entity. So having a good attorney to draw up this document always helps. Number 2, which is the most important thing, draw up an operating agreement. This is the most important document you can create for this type of business, because operating agreement is where you outline how this entity will operate, who will run the show, who will be responsible for the payroll, for the purchase, for the sales, and for the day-to-day operation, and how you will share the dividend or the profit, how often, and how will it be distributed, who will manage that. In an operating agreement, you can also mention that this is the attorney, if we have any legal issue we can go to, this is the accountant or CPA we have that will keep all the books and records, and will share however way you guys agree that the dividend will be shared every 3 months or every month or every year and things like that. But this operating agreement will also say your goal is to keep this business going for certain number of years unless something unforeseeable takes place. For example, big earthquake takes place and things change, or some big company comes in, buys some existing businesses and bulldoze them and builds a huge gas station right in front of you. Things drastic like that can happen. And I've seen that happen. So if that happens, then you may have to decide to do something else. And in that case, everybody needs to get together and decide. But my point being, an operating agreement should spell out everything that may go wrong in a business and how you will be handling that. So your investors are at peace in mind knowing that this is how things will happen. This is how they will get reimbursed. This is how they will get return on their investments. And again, as I mentioned, you have to get an accountant. Number 3, set up a system with your accountant. Very important. In operating agreement, you can mention that, hey, an accountant will be handling the books. And so number 3 step will be finding a good accountant or a CPA that is reasonable and does a good job, and set up a system where you furnish the accountant all the sales data and everything else for the bookkeeping. Let them do the books, because this way you're off the hook. If a professional does bookkeeping and accounting, then most chances are very little that there will be error in it, and your investors will be at peace in mind knowing that a professional is furnishing them with the profit and loss statement and the health of the business and whatever and whatnot. So it is important to set up an accountant with all your system and make sure you have an understanding with them that you will be providing them with all the data so they can do the bookkeeping, and whatever you guys decide, if it's monthly P&L or quarterly P&L and how you will be paying the dividend or profit, set it up with the accountant so he or she can send the checks directly to your shareholders. You're not involved in it. Let them do it. And this way it looks professional, less chance of having any errors. So once again, if you do this right, you will gain the confidence and trust of your investors. Oftentimes, that has a big reward, meaning your investor may come to you in a year or so and say, listen, I found 10 other guys that wants to do another project or 2. So if you do this right, in 10 years' time, you may have 5 of these projects and you yourself may become very rich, where you in turn will find other people that are pitching to you and you go invest. So this is how you can grow big. And this should apply to everybody who has money or doesn't have money looking to get into business. You can always find good and suitable partners and investors and grow even bigger than what you are today. So with that in mind, I will finish this episode. And again, once again, I am sorry for being so late with this episode. I have been really busy with the project that I mentioned before, with the station that we took over, and it had some hiccups. So I have been really busy and haven't had a chance to do anything else or even to record an episode. And I was being lazy partly for that. So I do apologize, and hopefully I will be more in schedule for the next episode and for the next one after that as well. So take care, and I will talk to you in next episode again.
This has been the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast with your host, Shabir Hossain. This podcast was brought to you by CSB Academy Publishing Company. Be sure to join us next time as we share with you the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money.